Oh, it's a real pleasure to have you here with us today. I feel like I'm in the presence of a star in the African NFT artist community and in the global NFT community. You've done so much, and I'm going to start by asking you how your journey as an artist started, and you know, how it got you to the NFT medium for your work.
So my journey, as I'm sure if you ask any artist who is a traditional artist, they'll tell you they've been an artist all their life. So kind of the same thing. I've always been obsessed with drawings. I started out cutting some of my uncle's daily newspapers, the cartoon sections, to kind of like try to redraw some of the works that, you know, came on there, and, you know, just trying to see if I could imitate some of the masters, you know. And along the line, I started drawing money. So I started drawing the local currency here in Nigeria, and, you know, sold it to a couple of my friends, and they tried to use it to buy something. So that was fraud. So that was crazy. They tried to use it to buy something, but that was totally illegal. But we didn't know because it looked so similar to the original thing. And, you know, it could have passed up for like the original currency, but thank God, like some of the adults saw it and they were like, no, you can't use this to, you know, buy and all. So yeah, it kind of spiraled from there then, but I started like professionally as an artist back in 2009. I got trained. My first master was a lady who was a textile designer. She kind of coached me in my early days, making textile colors, you know, composition. She taught me portrait drawings and the rest. Then I then went on to kind of work with a painter. So the painter coached me for a couple of months. I just learned a couple. Then that is when I kind of left secondary school here. I believe it's called high school in America, but I left secondary school then because I started so early. And that's when I started making money. So I just realized, oh, this thing I do for fun, you know, you could definitely make money out of it. So now then went on to be coached by another sculptor for a couple of months. Then I now went on to my original master, who is a sculptor and also a master painter. So I worked with him for 2 years, kind of as an apprentice, kind of learning under him, learning how to sculpt. So picked up sculpting. Still have some of my works at the local museum, southern part of Nigeria. Still have some of my works there, some of my paintings and some of the sculptures I did. I can remember there's a sculpture I did called Unity, where two hands kind of came together. It was kind of surprising because back then I was so young as an artist. We went to the museum. We didn't know that, you know, if you take a work to the museum as an artist for an exhibition, the museum automatically claims it. I don't know, by some convoluted law or something. So we were really pissed, but along the line, we're like, oh, at the bright side, we still have our works in the museum. So it was kind of interesting. Then I went to school to study because, you know, the southern part of Nigeria, I mean, everywhere is very difficult to be an artist everywhere in the world. It's not just a Nigerian thing. You know, it's very difficult for people to believe because, you know, people usually say art's making a real contribution to the society. You know, it is, because the works I do kind of help people. You know, people reach out to me and like, oh, you know, I look at your work and I look forward to your daily art to kind of, you know, help me go through the day, or like just something to look at and just feel happy. It's kind of, you know, how we change people's mood and, you know, affect people's psychology. So for me, it's very important. But, you know, back then, my mother, who was really concerned about, you know, me not being I mean, what mother wouldn't want? No mother would want their kid to be a failure. So she was like, oh, you know, you go study something that it's a little more feasible in terms of, you know, some of the professions that were kind of around here. So I went on to study building technology, which is kind of like a subsidiary of building civil engineering. So did building engineering and, you know, got my first degree in building engineering. So I kind of had to abandon art for a minute, but then again, I how I got into digital art is like a very, very crazy story. So when I was still in uni, there was a day, was like lecture-free day. So on my way home, unknown to me, my brother, they took some of the phone numbers from his phone. So they sent like an SMS blast to everybody. And I was part of his contact. So I was like, oh, they're doing this tech thing at the other side of the campus. So on my way home, I was like, nah, I'm not going to that. Then I saw a couple of my friends that were like, oh, what are you going home to do? We might as well, go there, get the free food. So I was like, oh, well, we go get the free food. So I joined them. It took me there. I had a couple of these guys who were working advertising, talking about 3D software, Silicon Valley, and all of that. That's the first time I ever, realized that, being an artist, especially a digital artist, could definitely make an actual contribution in terms of advertising and also filmmaking and the rest. Originally, I wanted to go into filmmaking, but the industry here is kind of still budding and emerging. I think it's better now, so that's how I kind of met this guy from Google. I met him and like, yo, you talked about tech, PHP, coding, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't do any of that. So I don't even know how to code. I can't even read numbers and remember them correctly. What do I do? All I know how to do is to draw and, make art. And he was like, yeah, you know what? Like artists are the future, especially if you're doing 3D. You guys are the future. Like you guys are the future. He kept saying, you guys are the future. I'm like, who's this guy, man? It's crazy. So maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but that word still stuck in my head, artists are the future. But I didn't know how, artists were the future because I lived in a small town and it was difficult to kind of imagine what he was talking about. But I still was consistent with my work, I kept making work and graduated, went to advertising school for took a course, got a diploma in advertising, then went on to, when I was doing that, I was still working a couple of agencies. So did advertising for, I think from 2017 to the beginning of this year is when I kind of like said goodbye to advertising. So I kind of did motion design work. That's how I kind of discovered some of the guys, discovered people's work. So I was following people's work before, the NFT craze, because it was one of like the NFT, the motion design community is so closely knitted that, all the artists kind of talk to each other like friendly. Nobody's hiding whatever they're doing. They're willing to show you how to navigate, solve problems with softwares and the rest. So I kind of knew about his work and I was like, who's this crazy guy? Like, he's just pumping out a work for crazy. So it's kind of inspired by that. And, but I didn't do anything about it then. I started making art, but for myself. I just never posted it online. I just kept it to myself, just saved it on my computer. Nobody saw it. Even when I was working in advertising, still going to school, I would cycle between school work, advertising work, which is crazy as hell, and also making daily art every day. So it was kind of crazy. Then, it's through the motion design space that I was. I started seeing some of the artists talking about crypto art. So like, what's crypto art? Then there's this artist called Don Allen, the second or third, I'm not sure, but Don Allen, he's really big on augmented reality and VR. So he's done some work for Snapchat with the new Snap glasses. So it's a very strong pillar of the community. Like I said, the motion design community is even more closely knitted than the NFT community in the sense that everybody's just an open book. If they know something, they share it with everybody. So I kind of reached out to him, was like, yo, what's this crypto art thing you're talking about? This was like late last year, say around October, November. That because I kept seeing crypto art even before October. A lot of people were posting Ethereum. I'm like, what's this Ethereum thing? Because along my advertising career, I kind of moved in-house doing cutting 30 minutes arts for a crypto company. So I started looking into crypto, investing, crypto making. I invested, made some blunder, lost a couple of money, blah, blah, blah. The usual, when you're trying to learn a new skill. So I kind of like, the intersection between, art and crypto would be amazing because that is kind of like my mission statement now, the problem we're solving, which is, creating art and, trying to create art, because we all had that issue of people, taking your work and saying, oh, it's theirs, or, copying this. There's only so much you can do in terms of trying to make sure that nobody steals your work on the internet. It's very, very huge place. There's the dark web and the other parts of the internet, people don't go to. So NFTs kind of solve the problem of, that, because I didn't like the idea of watermarking my work. I just wanted it to be, kind of like a Basquiat piece. When you see it, or kind of like a Picasso. When you see it, it doesn't have to sign his name on it, So that was like what was important to me, creating that unique style. So started, I always loved African culture, loved history, loved, discoveries, ancestry, where we came from as human, the human experience. So I've always studied about that. So when time came for the NFT space, I was like, I want my work to stand out, because coming from the motion design space, there was this huge craze and love for astronauts. It was crazy, everywhere you look, just see astronauts floating in space, lost in space. There were so many astronaut walks. And, it was interesting. It's something I wanted to do as well, kind of tell the astronaut story, because it was so vast in terms of, telling the story of the human experience through someone who's lost in space, trying to rediscover, the purpose of existence. So for me, I kind of wanted to do that, but my culture, try to bring it to the forefront, because I didn't see a lot of artists doing that. I didn't see so many artists, trying to tell that story, at least when I first joined the NFT space. So I tried to draw a lot from my culture, draw a lot from, which I was already doing before NFTs. I minted my first work. Coming into the NFT space, I was so scared. Like, I had to use my paycheck for a month to cover my to cover gas fees. Gas was crazy back then. So I used my paycheck. I was so broke that month. I didn't have anything left. So I used everything, covered gas. I was telling my brother, like, yo, man, I don't know if anybody's gonna buy this piece, because, Africans, it's just a handful of Africans that, really buy art, and they appreciate it, but, they have other problems. We have so many vast problems. So instead of, buying art, they put it in all those things, and I can't blame anybody for that. So I kind of wanted to, reach a diverse audience, and I was scared, if they would kind of appreciate where I was coming from, trying to be original and telling my story. So my first work, put it out on Known Origin, applied to Known Origin, got accepted. Shout out to David Moore, founder of Known Origin. It was such a great support back then. In the Discord, the message him was like, oh, how do I go through this, blah, blah, blah. He was, very swift answer and was really kind. So minted my first piece. It was this piece called The Mask. It's an ancient Benin mask from the 16th century, created in 16th century, of a mask wearing a mask. Is what I use for my avatar, and I use that piece for my avatar because of the kind of the experience I got from it. I put it up, went to work the next day, minted it, went to work the next day. I was like telling all my friends about this new thing called NFTs and how I minted my first work. It was crazy. I was just trying to promote the way I knew, just put it out on Twitter, put it out on Instagram. Then I found out about Clubhouse, started going into Clubhouse rooms. But before I could even go to Clubhouse room, it got like 6 hours after I minted it, someone got it. I was very surprised. My first piece was collected by a man called Arelas on Twitter, but his name is Sam. So he's been following my work. When I reached out to him, he was like, oh, I've been following your work for a year now. I was like, what? Been following my work for a year? I didn't even know, I had someone in Australia who was following my work, And he was like, oh yeah, I'm over in Sydney, Australia. I've been following your work, had to grab your first piece. I love it. We got chatting, asked about, the piece, what inspired it and everything. So when I saw the first piece, I was so happy. I had to take the money out because I was so, when I told Esther about it, she was like, yo, because she thought I was crazy as well, because I'm always telling her all these crazy things we should do, like Afro droids and the rest. And she was like, okay, we'll do it. She would just say yes to it, to show her faith. But deep down, I knew she thought I was crazy. But when the piece sold, came back home, was so happy, you know, kind of let everybody knew about it. It was really interesting. But yeah, that's kind of like how my journey started. Then, you know, second piece till Afro Droids and all the pieces are minted. So that's kind of, I know I kind of went long-winded, you know, but that's kind of like the whole journey.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. I mean, it's just incredible to hear about your journey. And, you know, I love the fact that you were an apprentice to, you know, to various painters and sculptors, and that you transitioned in this way. I wanted to ask actually a really basic question. Did your background, did your engineering background kind of get you in touch with software that then informed your practice? Or once you started working with the 3D software, motion design, was that totally kind of self-taught?
Oh yeah, it was totally self-taught. When I went to school, I'm not sure we ever did software or whatever, but it was more of self-taught, like just brute force, because I'm a kind of person, you know, if you know I just want something, I go for it and just walk till it makes sense. So it was the first day I opened, I keep telling people, the first day I opened, you know, 3D package I work with now, I had a headache. I had to close it up and, you know, go to bed and come back, look at it, still had a headache, went back, still came back. So it just has a learning curve, but self-taught, YouTube, you know, Googling, asking questions, just being in tune with the community, you know, even before NFT space, community was such a huge thing for me, you know, especially with the motion design, you know, community.
Okay, amazing. And your work, as you've said with your first work, Masked, you know, it draws from the Benin bronzes and ancient works that have been appropriated, you know, by colonial powers who took them from Africa. Is that something that, you know, is that kind of theft of your, you know, national artifacts, for want of a better word? Does that also inform your work? Do you want to you know, reclaim what's rightfully yours and then make it your own with your art?
To be very honest, I know a lot of people would disagree with me with this. I think the Benin pieces being taken, and please, they can quote me anywhere they like, was a good thing, because for someone like me that from the southern part of Nigeria, we have so much rich culture and we have so much artifacts as well, you know, but ours wasn't taken, so it got lost. People don't even remember it, you know. And for the Benin, why people remember it is because it got taken. It's kind of a good and, you know, kind of a bad thing, in sense that, you know, it brought more light to that beautiful culture, and also because when I look at the work the Benin people did, they were so ahead of their time in terms of the carvings, the work. There's a book I have here that's so. It's like a Bible. So it's called the Benin. It's really huge. So I've been studying it for kind of like a very long time now, you know, kind of trying to rediscover the essence of, you know, why they made the works like that. You know, most of this carving were like to document the, you know, who was a king back then, to just, you know, put like something in remembrance of a person. So just documenting their civilization, which is quite interesting to me. So I think to a large extent, I don't think we can reclaim everything, you know, to be very honest with you. I'm just a very honest person, but I don't think we can reclaim everything, because there's a conversation I had with an amazing artist in Nigeria as well, Nike. She started a gallery in Kenya with a couple of other artists, very diverse set of artists. She owns a gallery called Nike Art Gallery in Lagos here. So I had a conversation with her over tea, and, you know, just talking about, you know, the whole reclaiming thing. And she just made a very interesting point about it, you know, in terms of reclaiming. Like, I mean, I think it's better. It's better. Maybe it comes back to the rightful honors, but I don't think we will be able to reclaim all of it. But I think it should definitely be returned, because some of the pieces I've done, I've kind of, because why I'm more bothered about the pieces is how they were gotten, you know, how they were taken, because a lot of people died in the process, you know, if there was no bloodshed, they were just taken by free will, I think, I might not really be bothered about it. I'm more bothered about, the people that created the pieces, kind of laid their lives, taken by force. People died in the process. The king was banished and everything. So for me, it's more about, the events surrounding the process by which they got the loots.
Got it. So would you say that your work is a response to restitution?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Some of my work, most of the time, my work is not as political as I would love to be. I would love to, there are some pieces I've done that will never see the light of the day. Maybe because maybe the day I finally leave Nigeria, I would be able to put out some of those pieces because I'm just scared for my life. But there are some powerful pieces I've done that I've had to, put aside. There's this piece I did called The Failed State that really highlights my political stand when it comes to, all the things that are happening in Africa. I was so happy when, Frank is the one that collected, Frank Smits is the one that collected the piece. And, I was so happy because he understood the essence of the piece, because for me, it's just beyond someone collecting my art and me making money. It's more of, I want a collector that understands. That's why I love TMSC, because the people surrounding it have such a rich background in terms of the arts, they understand the importance of what we're doing. It's not, we see so many people come into the space and, I've been told not to say this a lot, but people with don't have the right intentions, in terms of the art, for them, it's
Right.
just another opportunity. But for someone like me who has been an artist all his life, when it didn't even make sense, I didn't even have money. I was still an artist. I still don't have money. So, but during that period of people telling me, "Oh, you paint your work, put it on the wall, and nobody will buy it," I was still, persevering, being consistent with my art. And Esther will attest to the fact when, she originally joined me. When I told her my rate, she was like, "Okay, I will join you because I believe in your dreams, but I don't know about this rate. So we have to do something about it." But yeah, for me, I think it's more of a political and restitution standpoint. And also I have a couple of books about that.
Thank you. And your work also kind of, let's talk about Afrofuturism, because that kind of encapsulates so much. What's your take on Afrofuturism? And let's get into the Afro droids after that. But pre-Afro droids, how did you start exploring the themes of Afrofuturism within your work?
For me, I said it yesterday on Twitter Spaces. Afrofuturism for me, it's the core concept of Afrofuturism is, people dreaming for a better life, for themselves, where they live in a society where everybody's equal. We don't have all the problems we're having in Africa right now. Black people have equality. So it's different. It's different based on your experience. But it's still the foundation of it all is, we want a better life. We were just trying to imagine it as poets, as musicians, as artists, just trying to imagine that, or literates. And for me, the concept of Afrofuturism really, for me, came from the point of, our arts being taken and, my people frowning upon some of the artifacts we have. Because I had this experience where, when I was younger, I made a piece, it was a sculpture, that looked like a mask that was being worshipped back in the days. And my mother was like, "Why are you making idols that people worship?" I'm like, "No, it's not idols. They are, they're important because they are culture, they are history. If we neglect all of these things, who knows? I wouldn't know where I come from, So for someone like me, it's more about, taking a stand and making, because when my mother was younger, there was a time in our culture where, where if you were not a Christian, you were not allowed to go to school, So most of the Catholic Church, no offense to anybody, when they came, they were like, we have to, if you want your kids to go to our school, so my grandfather, who was like a practitioner, of our culture, who really love it, the culture, and it was like at the head of affairs, had to, you know, step down so that his children can go to school. So for me, I just thought that was, you know, bullshit, because in our society right now, there's so many things that religion has done to our people, you know, we've seen so many people come and try to brainwash people with religion, trying to make it look like our culture. It's a bad thing, you know, it's diabolical in the sense that it's bad, you know, and for me, it's not bad. What our people had access to back then, you know. It's like with NFTs now, and who knows what better technology is going to come in the next 5-10 years, and we'll be like, oh, because we did that, we were wrong, you know. It was just their way of, you know, living. It was just the core of their civilization. It doesn't mean that, you know, for me, I still, to a large extent, I'm still a Christian, you know, but also I believe that there's a place for our culture. There's a place for all, you know, our history, because our history is so rich. And for me, it's just really important. So it shows kind of the way I tell the story. So I try to bring it back to with the masquerade theme, with the mask theme, to kind of take a stand, you know, let people know that, you know, some of the things that happened back then. That's why I'm in love with some of these books, because they tell stories that you don't see on the internet, you know. They tell stories, they show pictures you don't really see on the internet. So for me, it's just very important. And maybe if anybody won't talk about it, I'll be the person to, you know, kind of talk about it, so highlight. So for me, Afrofuturism is kind of, you know, imagining that future where we create that balance, where we don't really look down on some of the cultures and, you know, traditions we had, you know, but try to find a balance, you know. It definitely has its place, you know. I mean, Americans celebrate Halloween, and they don't see it as a bad thing. It's a great tradition, if you ask me. So I still believe that there's a place for some of these traditions. There's a place for all of this culture. So if we can find that intersection, that solves the problem of Afrofuturism for me as a person, and also, you know, balancing out equality and everything.
Yeah, I love hearing about the way that you're creating a new cultural narrative with Afrofuturism, and you're absolutely right, Oo. You know, why is it that, you know, Mexico's Day of the Dead is now like a global holiday?
Yeah.
Everyone gets
Disney
on
made a
board.
movie about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's part of kind of our children's narrative now, even though they may never have been to Mexico, but it's exactly as you're saying, you know, why are those cultural appropriations not applicable to Africa in the same way, when you have such hugely rich histories across the continent? Yeah. And you know, your work at the same time, you know, I mean, it's absolutely stunning, and it's so beautiful, and it's also quite dystopian. I mean, you're talking about, in one way, you talk about, you know, creating this better vision, but can we get into the Afro droids and humanity basically fast forwarded to, let me just check on the year. It was
3045.
3045. And, you know,
Yeah.
you're really, I love the fact that, you know, your work with the Afro droids and in general touches on, you know, the path that we're going down right now globally, which is humanity kind of destroying itself. But can you tell us about, your vision with the Afro droids, what you wanted to create?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the Afro droid is something it's something I keep telling people I've been working on for like the longest, in terms of it's just been there. It's always been a constant question I've been asking myself. And, you know, it ties back to what I said about Afrofuturism, in terms of us imagining a future where we're totally free. And, you know, if we live in a world where, you know, it's governed by machines, you know, with human consciousness walking around, and everybody looks the same, you know, yeah, machine, there's no gender, because people kept asking me, okay, are there female Afro droids, are there male Afro droids? Like, no, because we're slowly moving into a society where, you know, the line the line about that is being blurred constantly, you know. So I'm trying to, I was even sharing the idea for my next work with someone. I'm like, what if we created a machine where, you know, if a woman is pregnant, you know, the mother carries the child for a week, then transfer it to the father, and the father carries it for another week. So it becomes equal responsibility instead of the burden of carrying the child is just on the mother alone, you know. What if we create a technology like that? I think it would be interesting. So men too can have that experience, and also, you know, see what it means, you know, understand why, you know, that love, the motherly love is so strong. So for me, the story of the Afro droid is a story of, you know, machines with human consciousness roaming the earth. And, you know, why human consciousness? Because I've always seen, every time people tell the story of machines taking over the world, it's always about, you know, machines will wipe humans away, they'll kill us, and that will be the end. Humans don't exist anymore. But what if, you know, because I'm always seeing these things, and I'm trying to, I always tell some of the students I have, like, if everybody's thinking left, just think right for a minute, you know, just think right. And the first 10 ideas that come to your head, don't use it. Think of another idea, use that one. So for me, I'm always living by that principle, and also always trying to imagine. So the first idea comes to trash it. So for me, it's kind of important to, you know, try to find a solution to the issue of machines always killing humans. So the solution would be, you know, the human vessel will only last so long, you know, but if we transfer our mind, we transfer our consciousness, then we can live forever, because that's the most important thing, you know. So if we're transferring this to a machine, and the machine continues as civilization, it was such a beautiful concept, you know, and it still is a beautiful concept. So we created this, Esther and I worked on the story, and originally, you know, we worked on it as a movie, kind of trying to write the story of the Afro droid. So in stages, like, you know, the inception, where, you know, everything has happened, global warming, ocean pollution, with everything that's happening right now, it's just so crazy, you know, even with things that are happening in Ethiopia, you know, with the genocide and everything, Yemen, it's crazy. So for me, like, the solution to that, because we're slowly heading towards a path of destruction. Sorry to say that, but it's just except we, you know, try and change our ways. And I just saw the movie Tomorrow Wars, and so it talked about, you know, the ice caps in Russia, when it's going to melt. And, you know, you look at the forecast. Look at the forecast when they predict the ice caps are going to melt off. And you look at it, you see the data, and it's not that far-fetched. You know, when we talk about dystopia, people just think, oh, it's going to be this maybe millions of years in the future. I don't think the dinosaurs ever thought they were going to be extinct, but it just happened and they were gone. So just creating that future where, you know, we transfer consciousness, we try to build a better world, because apart from, you know, just having machines roaming the earth, it's creating a better world, taking care of the environment, you know, cleaning up the environment, making sure we are nice to the person next to us, and, you know, just trying to be humans again, because my name Owo translates to human, where I come from. So just trying to be humans again, because originally I called the Afro droids Owo, but like, it was a little bit on the nose, you know. An artist that calls his work himself. So yeah, I had to call it Afro droids then. Yeah, that's kind of like how the story came together.
That's really powerful. Can I ask, what culture you're referring to when you say your name means human? What's your?
Oh, it's the Ibibio, the Ibibio tribe in southern Nigeria. So it's like the part of, I come from a state called Akwa Ibom State. So it's like the last state. Then the next is just the Gulf of Guinea, then the Atlantic Ocean.
Got it. Okay. That's really powerful. And, you know, have you been influenced by science fiction writers or artists in Africa, or are you the first artist to have created an Afro droid?
I don't think I'm the first. I think there are a couple of, you know, artists that have done this before me. Maybe maybe not as popular, but the NFT space kind of helped amplify the messaging. I think there are a couple of great writers, e.g. Nadia Okorafor, who wrote the Black Panther, and she even wrote the next one, I think. And she's such a powerful woman who I admire a lot. I think she's one of the few that are really powerful writers in that sense. But there are so many amazing artists who have worked on things like this, but I might not know about them. But I've been more influenced by science fiction writers from America and all over the world. Movies like Finch, movies like what's it called, the Terminator, because the guy is always coming back, and Skynet tries to destroy the world. So but beyond that, it's for me, my early days, I was really influenced by Picasso's work. During the war, him just trying to outline and just try to send a message. For me, it's always been, with everything that's happening with Nigeria, just trying to send a message. Maybe the government will see it and know that what they're doing is not right. So this Afrodroid was like a message to everybody. We're killing the planet that has nurtured us so well, and we need to try our best. That's why we did the charity, try and give back, try and help the kids, have a fighting chance at life and all of it. So for Afrodroid, it's just a message to the whole world. We need to fix up.
So Owo, can you elaborate a bit more on that charity aspect of this project?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for Afrodroid, we wanted to set a template for the NFC space on how charity should be done in terms of transparency, because I love transparency. People even say so some of the time that I'm way too transparent for an artist in the NFC space. Don't be there, don't answer messages, be anonymous, blah blah blah. I don't really care about that. For me, I'm just a simple artist, and my mission is just to tell stories. So with Afrodroids, we wanted to set a template for people to, see how you can do charity. This is the template to use. So the charity was written directly into the smart contract. The smart contract we wrote was on an ERC 721 network. So we wrote everything into the smart contract. So Esther didn't see the money. I didn't see the money. None of the team members saw the money. We just wrote 20%. So everything we made, 20% went directly to a charity in Nigeria called Dream Catchers Academy for Girls. So what they do is they take girls, little girls. Their Instagram is Dream Catchers Academy. Kind of quickly, check that out if you're watching this. And,
yeah.
Just see the work they've done. So they take these little girls off the streets. Some of them are from abusive homes. Some of them, are just hawking on the street. If you come to Nigeria, you see some of them just standing at the traffic, trying to clean your windshield, or just begging and stuff. So what they did is help these girls, educate them, teach them about entertainment, help teach them how to dance. And they've performed with so many people. Like, they've met so many celebrities, and we just wanted to make a contribution to their lives. So Esther is the one that was in charge of everything. She reached out to the charity. Shout out to Shay. She's the coordinator of the charity. Very wonderful and powerful lady who's running the charity. And she said in one of her AMAs that at first she was skeptical about it, because she thought it was a scam. The first time we reached out to her, she thought it was a scam. But one of our friends who was a lawyer told her that, as long as they're not asking you for money, maybe you just do it. If they start asking you for money, then maybe you have second thoughts. But she said until she saw the money in their wallet, she was they were so happy. They made a video, they shared with us, and they originally set out to build a school, but now they've built a school. They're adding another story to the school. Wow. And they're building a shelter for the kids, because some of the kids, they come, they go, and some of the kids, they come from some homes that are very, very abusive. So they have to do therapy for the kids to kind of, understand that it's not homes with domestic violence, and also you know, them coming to the school, going back to that environment is not the best way to learn. So they're building the shelter to accommodate the kids. Maybe they stay learn, and they're taking care of the kids till they turn 18, you know, still sending them to college, which is, when Esther told me about it, I felt like crying because it's such a huge undertaking, you know, taking care of all these kids. So the money they got was more than $500,000. And, you know, when they converted it to our local currency, it was it's crazy. So they've done so much. They've bought uniform for the kids. They're even at the point of buying laptops for them. So some of them can learn how to code. Some of them are interested in NFTs, you know, create NFTs. And, you know, I told them about Nyla Collection. Shout out to Nyla Collection. She created the Long Naked Ladies. And it was just fascinating to see Nyla put out such a huge and amazing collection. And every day I just look at her work and, man, I can't wait for her to, you know, maybe get to an age where she's just creating and creating and creating. And all the pieces I got from her, I don't even plan on selling it. I just plan on keeping it, sending it to my kids so they see what a 12-year-old did. So for me, it was fascinating. Told them about Nyla Collection, and the kids, they're interested in, you know, making their art to, you know, putting their art on the blockchain, you know, NFTs, because they want to understand where, you know, this help came from. Because she told us when we had our aim, is like, she was on the verge of giving up. But it's just like, you know, the universe made it possible for us to do this project and help them. So yeah, that's like everything on Dreamcatchers.
That's super powerful. I mean, do you see yourself kind of doing this again with another project and creating a DAO, for example? Because that's another way, right? Another add-on in the NFT space that some of the other African artists have already created DAOs, and yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely love to. It's DAOs are really tricky in terms of the whole, I don't want to go into that, but, you know, DAOs are interesting as well as very tricky because, you know, the type of governance that's like gives power to everybody. But then again, when you give power to everybody, you know, there's chaos. But it's kind of crazy. So I'm trying to, you know, try to learn from some of the other DAOs that have done it to kind of understand, you know, how we could come in, you know, learn about it, and also even help other artists. That's why we created the First Continent Art Collective, to even onboard artists into the space. So yeah, definitely, you know, I was telling Esther, you know, sharing the plan for next year. Plan for next year is, you know, is beyond collectibles, just navigating that blue chip space, trying to, you know, hit that blue chip region where, you know, you achieve. I mean, artists like F Render and, you know, Ferocious people, they've done it. So I think it will be interesting. Even shout out to Osinachi, who is such an amazing OG artist. He's been in the space since 2017. From also Nigeria. He's like my neighbor. He lives like he lives out on the other side of the street. So he's such an amazing artist also from Nigeria here, and someone I respect so much. So yeah, definitely. So yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, you know, work with so many charities. We even have plans to even, you know, help some other charity here in Lagos. There's a charity that just gives kids there's a guy that walks around Lagos, just if he sees a kid, you know, hanging out on the streets, skipping school, he just gives them a chess board and they start playing chess. So his method of engaging with them is to kind of engage them with games, you know, make them, you know, warm up to him, then, you know, introduce them to other things, you know, skills they can learn. So we're definitely looking at that charity as well.
That's amazing. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And, you know, do you see what's happened in 2021 to you and also to your peer group of other, you know, artists in the digital space, either African artists or you know, diaspora artists in and around the world? You know, do you see this as a digital revolution or a renaissance?
Sure,
or a renaissance? Which one would you?
Yeah. I wanted to say Renaissance, you know, in honor of Leonardo da Vinci. I wanted to say that just to, respect him. And yeah, absolutely. It's like the biggest thing right now, honestly. I even think it's bigger than the Renaissance, to be very honest. No offense to the amazing artists, no disrespect to them in any way, but this is very huge in terms of the power it has given back to the artist. It has given so much power to the artists in terms of artists having control of their work. I mean, with traditional, I never liked the traditional gallery way where, you don't get to meet the artist, because the artist kind of created the work and, it has a story, and, the royalties is super amazing. That's why there's a platform, I'm not going to name names, that came up and, they said, oh, they're not giving so much royalty to the artists. And I was like, nah, I'm not really about that, and also the collector as well, a collector also, I mean, look at what's happening with T-Mac. Like, it's giving power to the artist and the collector as well, because I've always thought about, the collector gives so much. The collector is one person that, never gets appreciated that much, in terms of how much they give to the space.
And here's Frank.
Yeah, what to say about, our friendship goes back so long, of course, in the time of the NFTs world, it's long, months is at least maybe a year, maybe 2 years even. So, we already, if I calculate back, 12 years in contact. Now, Owo is a fantastic creator. The first moment I saw him, I just loved his art form. Very soon, actually, I started to call you. The moment you said that you create one artwork in a day, I told you, and I saw your work. I have you the nickname, the People of Africa. Besides amazing art, what you do, you're kind of a leader in the African artist world, digital artist world. People look up to you, and rightfully so. Yeah, it's one of those contacts. And Olivia, you have been in now a number of talks where you see that the relationship between collector and artist is so different than maybe in the traditional art world. And definitely the contact and the friendship I have with Owo is one of the truly special ones. So I'm just very privileged to be next to him in the journey. I think I got his most beautiful or meaningful work. It's called Failing State, which I'm very proud to have that in my collection. I think it was your second or third one-on-one that you sold, or one of a very early one. So I treasure that piece very specially. And so I think to have Owo in the lineup is fantastic. I'm so super proud. And I hope to extend our partnership here in Hong Kong with all the endeavors that we are taking on. And I just can't wait for the moment that Owo will be auctioned in Sotheby's and Christie's, and we see him, reaching for the sky, or actually we see him reaching for the moon in crypto language. So
next year, Frank. Next year, Frank, definitely.
Yeah, I know. So, I've given Olivia tips from, you have to buy this artist and that artist. So of course it's inside business, but now you are just an amazing artist. I know your creativity, and maybe to end it off also is that Owo is so open. And Owo and I, sometimes we talk. We talk for an hour or 2 hours even about art creations, and sometimes he has special project and he calls me, Frank, what do you think? Do you have a suggestion? And we talk about the art form. There was a period and he was creating very dark colors, and that's actually, to end off, is a really nice story. There was a moment he started to make very dark artworks, but there was something really bright in there, right? Like a light in the darkness. And I called him one day and I said to him, I said, oh, I want to see my people, African people back. Because he said, why? I said, yeah, because all your artwork is getting to me so dark. And then he always said to me, he said, no, because, you know, when I was young, we had hardly any light in the house and we all watched TV. So for me, the TV gave so much light. That's my happiness. So for me, it goes back to my youth. And I thought it was such an amazing story. And so it's to end it off from my side. It's so nice to share this. And these are friendships for life. Can't wait that we welcome Owo in Hong Kong. And I know this is just the start of an amazing journey. And you know, I think all we as the Metaverse Art Club are privileged to be at your side, Owo. So yeah, up to the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Frank, for, you know, capturing that very well. I mentioned earlier, you know, you got the failed states, and I wouldn't have, you know, loved anybody to get that piece. You were just the perfect collector for it because you understood the meaning behind it. You know, the bright sky, the skulls on the ground, you know, representing my ancestors, and the people in the foreground represented people like me who are now telling the story of Africa. And you see the felt African map there, and you just see some of the region. Like, for example, Nigeria is not even there. Like it's been ruined so much, and it's like it's beyond repair, kind of a way. And you understood the meaning and depth between the arts, and you know, I just love that. And all the conversations we've been having, and I kept saying, like, TMAC is such a huge, like, it's such a huge undertaking in terms of the team. Like, I've never seen a team this grounded in terms of their love for arts and understanding, you know, the meaning behind what we create, because it's just beyond beautiful pictures for me. It's a message, you know, maybe to the government, maybe to institution, maybe to people. And, you know, I always try to capture that. And, you know, for the piece I created for this, you know, you kind of challenged me in terms of, you know, Frank told me one day, and this is such an amazing story. Frank told me one day and said, you know, I think it's amazing your love and passion for African stories, but, you know, now you have such a diverse audience. And some of them want to see their self in your art. It just made me understand, you know, Frank wants to see some of his cultural piece in my art, you know. So yeah, so for this particular piece, I kind of had to explore, you know, some of the other cultures to try, and because it struck a chord with me. You know, you now have these amazing people that love your work, you know, regardless of if it's an African story or not, because it's not a must that you have to like an African story. You know, it's allowed. You might not like it. It's not a given. It might not just resonate with you. I think that's a valuable lesson I learned, because I reached out to a collector one day, early days in NFT, and I was like, oh, could you collect my work? It was like, no, I don't collect landscapes. I only collect portraits. And, you know, it made so much sense to me, and I appreciate the honesty. So it's not a must that you have to like a particular piece, but, you know, all the people, the love has been amazing. And for me, there's a period where I want to repay that, you know, try to explore other cultures, and it'd be fascinating for me to study other cultures and try to, you know, tell the story through my own lens, you know, where people can see themselves in my work. And it's all thanks to Frank, the conversations we keep having, you know, I always go to him, you know, talk about the arts. He comes to me too. We have so many amazing mutual friends, and for the Afro-Droid, people don't know, Frank played such a huge role, you know, helping the project. So, and for that, I'm always grateful. And, you know, I think, like, he captured, it's a friendship that's going to, you know, last for very, very long. It feels like years, but it's just months. So it's going to, you know, progress in such an amazing way.
Thank you so much, Owo. I have to apologize. We have 15 people inside, and I want to start showing them our story. And but I know for sure Olivia is such an amazing interviewer and amazing. And you know, I'm sure that your talks so far has been quality, and quality. So thanks, Olivia, and thanks, Owo. We talk soon again, Owo, and up to the journey. We are so proud to be part of it, and we hope TMAC will be a huge success, and which also helps each of the artists in the next step of this amazing journey. So thanks again, Owo, and thanks so much, Olivia, for all your work.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank.
So, oh, that was just so powerful to hear both of you speaking about your, your incredible bond as artist and collector, and how the NFT space has really not just facilitated that, but it's sparked these innovative new offshoots and created new realms of possibility for both of you, and now for the MetaArt Club and for our collectors as well. So that's so exciting. And I just wanted to end on, something that you just touched on. You touched on this collection of works that you've created under the theme A New Beginning, which is what Frank gave you and gave all of the artists as the kind of challenge or the commission. How did you, what did that spark in you, OO, and what can we, without a spoiler alert, you don't have to tell us everything, but what can we hope to see from you?
I believe, like never before. Some of the pieces I've done, I've never explored other cultures, but because of the respect I have for other cultures, because, being an African person and also, Black person, it's appropriation, it's a thing, So most of the time when someone like me, we're creating pieces, we try to be very safe in a way that, it doesn't seem like a culture vulture just jumping on anything. So any piece I'm creating is like an homage, paying respect to the culture rather than, taking to enrich myself. And for this particular, the 4 pieces I created, it's kind of like a new beginning in terms of, I'll just talk about what the 4 pieces do for me. So we have one that, opens a door that kind of shows a Tory gate that opens a new door. So reading and doing research about the gates is like, you leaving the mundane and then entering the sacred. And for me, it's like, journeying between these 2 realms of, just exploring my culture to other cultures and trying to make sure, because it's a story, that's something I've always told Frank, I don't want it to seem like, you're appropriating someone's culture, because it's a very, very, very sensitive thing.
Yeah.
I want it to be from a place of love and appreciation for the rich cultures that we have all over the world, So one captures my transition from my current creations to, the creation I would love to create. And it shows beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors. Like you said, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Then one also captures my me meeting at the cliff. It's a very, very huge piece of work. I wish, could view it in Times Square, because that's how I kind of created it. I created it with this huge monitor to kind of show that depth, me meeting with a mystical tree and, kind of asking for knowledge is like the conversation I had with Frank, that's that conversation where I'm having with people from other cultures, trying to understand, what does this signify? What does this tree stand for? What does this tree, this one mean? What are the significance in terms of the culture? So there's the piece about that. There's also a piece about a festival, very, very popular festival that I created. That I've been learning about so many festivals and trying to understand them. So it just captures, there's one of me falling through this whole crack of me reimagining myself. So it's not the kind of work I would do because of how bright the colors are and the environment is so dark. And then, okay, this one I've already posted on my page, so maybe I could talk more about it. But it has all these magical mushrooms that, some people say some are for psychedelics, just passing through that realm of, higher consciousness and enlightenment, just falling through. There's someone falling through. The environment is so dark, but the mushrooms and the grass, they illuminate the space just to show that, there are people going through dark experiences, but, then you experience things like this and, it brings you out of that darkness and, it just shines this light. So yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but it still ties to the central message that, I'm exploring new cultures and, just trying to understand because one thing I learned in advertising is consumer insights, which is very, very important. I'm always asking the question, what's the consumer insight? What does the consumer want? And for me, as much as I love to create what I like, I also love to create what I like. And for me, history is like what I love, you know. History is what I love. Archaeology is what I love, you know, ancient things. I could just stay watching documentaries forever. It's just my thing, you know. I just love all of these things. So it's like a whole new journey where I'm just joining into the unknown, and it's very fun. It's like the early days of discovering how to, you know, draw paint or use a software to create artwork.
Oh, thank you so much for shining a light on your work today so powerfully and with such cultural resonance. It's been an absolute privilege to speak to you. We're delighted to have you on board as such a vocal proponent of your art, as one of our 35 artists for the MetaArt Club. So thank you so much. I hope I get a chance to, you know, maybe speak to you again in, you know, on a podcast. And it's been a privilege. Sure. I could speak to you for hours, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Same here. Like, you know, I felt very relaxed, and you know, I love all the questions, and it's really, really, like Frank said, you know, you just ask the right questions. They are just questions you ask, like, how did you think of that? But it's super amazing to chat, you know. And like I keep saying, TMAC team, they understand the value of art, you know. Why we create the work, you know, is beyond the money, you know. It's beyond the money for, you know, people who are at the core of art. And for me, this opportunity is priceless. And for that, I'm grateful to Frank and everybody on the team, and you as well, for this opportunity to kind of reach a wider audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oo. Speak to you again soon, I hope. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.